Hello, everyone. How are we all doing? Come on in. Sit on down. It's time for another episode of the Truther Therapy Sessions. What are we on now? Episode 84. My, how the time flies. Now, I very quickly and haphazardly slapped this show together today. I'm not going to lie. And as a result, I've just realized my webcam isn't working. So give me 1 second. Things are going to get trippy for you guys. I think you're going to see perhaps a bad webcam. Here we go. And then I think it's going to flip to a high quality one. There we go. I'm back. I'm here. We're all sorted. Thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for being here, everyone. Maybe should I have this wide angle thing going on today? Should we do it this way rather than zooming it? I think I will. I'll mix it up a little bit. How are we all doing, guys? It's Sunday evening. I have had a busy day. I have been gardening. Yes, yesterday I dragged my wife and child and children around garden centres and finding bedding plants and all sorts of things to liven up the garden, shall we say. Now spring's fully kicked in, the frost is relatively gone, and it's safe to plant those things, and hopefully they won't just die within a day or two. But no, I've been busy today planting all of them and making the garden just look like a place you want to actually sit in, you know, and enjoy the sun and have a drink and relax, because winters in Britain are harsh and they destroy everything, and your garden after winter just looks like an absolute hellhole. Usually it's pretty much how it always goes for most people in England, but hopefully I've made it something beautiful. And, you know, there's something about gardening, isn't there? I don't know what it's therapeutic. You know, we're here talking about the Truther Therapy Sessions. And I think I would recommend, if you are a conspiracy theorist and you're looking for a way to relieve stress and pressure and kind of find a way to, you know, literally touch grass and get back to nature and earth and find something that is productive and relaxing simultaneously, and to take your mind off the horrors of the world and what the evil satanic elites are doing to children, for example. Go do some gardening. It'll take your mind off it for maybe a couple of hours. It certainly helps me relax today. I'll upload some photos of what I've done to Telegram as soon as I get a chance. I was literally working till sundown today trying to get it done, and the quality of photos wouldn't have been great if I took a picture today. So I'll take some tomorrow when the sun's shining, and I'll share them on Telegram for people who are interested. We do have a gardening section on the Telegram, so yeah, go check that out if you haven't already. So can you all hear me, guys? Am I talking to the ether, or are we loud and clear? Is everything all good? Is everyone happy? Is the audio clear? Is the image clear? Let's just put my logo sticker back on there. Let me know if the sound's coming through. Let me know if my voice sounds okay as well, because like I said, I've had a bit of a rough time recently. I lost my voice and got it back yesterday, just about, and it sounds. I've not really heard myself speak all day properly, so yeah, it sounds a little bit raspy. It looks like I've got a bit of a baby sick on my chest here, from what I can see as well, and I'm probably covered in all sorts of things. A professional as always. But yeah, like I said at the start of the show, this is a bit of a haphazard slap together series of topics which I've just kind of been thinking about recently on and off for many different reasons. And being the Truther Therapy Sessions that this is, it's kind of my attempt to just unload onto you guys some of my current thoughts on possibly crazy things or what I'm feeling about certain things right now, and for you guys also in the comments to share your thoughts on these ideas and concepts. And I'm just going to give a bit of a caveat. You know, I know I'm going to be dealing with some pretty sensitive topics today. Mental illness is not a joke. You know, I am somebody, and I've told this story before, you know, I've dealt with suicide in the family. You know, I understand how devastating it is when somebody's not mentally well, shall we say, and is desperate or suffering in that way. And I understand the detrimental consequences and side effects it can have on loved ones and family as well. I'm not at all unaware of all that. You know, I'm not trying to. I want to be empathetic as possible in discussing these things today. And I'm not here to give any professional advice on schizophrenia necessarily, or anything of the sorts. This is just, I'm going to talk about some things I've heard over the years during my research, which relates to spiritual warfare. My Nephilim Look Like Clowns research as well, and you'll find as many tangents I'm kind of going to veer off today as well while discussing these things. So there's a bit of a caveat there, you know, I'm not an expert, I just have some ideas and thoughts I want to get off my chest, I'm going to be as empathetic as possible. I apologize if this is affecting you in any way or personal to you guys. If it is, let me know. Send me a message. We can talk about it. These are therapy sessions after all, not a licensed therapist. So yeah, just laying that out first before I really get into this. Up north of the 49th says, dealing with mental idiots here in Canada who just killed 11 people. Well, that's horrible news. I'll have to look into that. But I'm sorry to hear that's been happening in that country. I mean, it happens every day, it seems, doesn't it? Like, we're getting more and more of this happening. Unhinged people just murdering others arbitrarily is a good word for it, with no reason, seemingly no reason whatsoever. It seems to be the norm. It seems to be more often than not, the last attempt at making an impact in a world where they become disillusioned and disheartened and isolated. It seems like they turn to the worst possible thing that's going to cause the maximum suffering and impact to everyone else around them, and that's taking the life away of other people. And it's sad that we live in a world where that is becoming more and more commonplace. So again, like I said, guys, this is going to be some sensitive subject matter today, but I'm also going to be, you know what I mean, I'm going to try and keep it lighthearted as much as I possibly can with these type of topics. But let me just share with you something I actually saw not that long ago, which really got the cogs turning, and made me think, like, wait a minute, what did they just say? You know, and this is a video from, I think it's 11 years ago, from Rutgers researchers and professors from the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey. And at the time, they were developing a optical illusion to help diagnose and treat schizophrenia in a collaboration that's been going on for years prior to this. And I'll share the screen with you, and I'm going to play the video as best I can. Obviously, for copyright reasons, I'm not going to be able to play it but what I will do is I'll put closed captions on instead, and we won't do the audio, and I'll just kind of skip through and explain to you what they are saying. It's only a 2-minute video, so there's not much to say, really. I'm not going to miss any information when explaining this to you. And again, I'll be going off the transcript anyway. So let me just quickly share the screen with you guys, and this is the video. And I'll just quickly switch this up to a wider view so you can see more clearly. So yeah, so this guy is explaining how, you know, the illusions show how we interpret signals. And what you see here, and what most people will see, is that this is a face looking at you straight ahead. We can see the nose protruding out, the eyes, the cheeks are protruding out, and people will see this and go, ah, yes, of course. But what we're actually seeing is the concave of a mask, not the outside. You're seeing the inside of a mask. That's what he's explaining here. Now, he goes on to show another illusion. What we see are two paths that go off into the distance and a house in the middle. But what you're actually looking at is two pyramids sticking out towards you, not going away. And this kind of shows you a bit better here as he moves around, just so you can get a good angle of what you're looking at here, because I know it's a little bit hard for the brain to process immediately. But it's actually like two cones sticking out at you, but when it lines up, it looks like two paths going away from you. Now, what he's saying here, diagnose through clinical symptoms is how you diagnose schizophrenia. Okay, through clinical symptoms. There's no tests that can diagnose what it's like to be schizophrenic or see how they see things. But what they've found is that schizophrenics don't see the illusion. They recognize instantaneously that they're looking at two pyramids sticking out at them, for example. And they recognize instantaneously that this is the convex of the mask. They know. There's no like illusion to them. It's kind of like there's no mind-blowing moment. They're looking at something and they recognize immediately the objects are going away from them in this case rather than towards them. And it just seems to be something that they can use to diagnose levels of schizophrenia. But he also goes on to say is in treatment, what we find is when people are improving, they fall for the illusion again. That's basically what he goes on to say here. It says when people have gotten better from schizophrenia, they can be tricked by the illusion again, and they're no longer able to see through it anymore instantaneously. And that got me thinking, what these guys are saying is people who are not schizophrenic fall for optical illusions. People who are schizophrenic see right through them and can't be fooled by them. Now, just let that sink in for a second. Well, let's think about that for a minute, because that kind of got me. People who are quote unquote deemed psychologically healthy by institutions and the world fall for illusions. They fall for it. They're tricked by it very easily. And they can't see it any other way. The brain just cannot see that face they're looking at is concave. They see it as though it's coming towards them. The brain can't interpret it any other way. It makes sense of it in a way that is a lie, basically. But it justifies it. Our brains just justify it. But a schizophrenic can't do that. They instantly see that it's concave, and the brain does not allow them to see it as coming towards them but going away. It just doesn't work. It's kind of, they can't be tricked by illusions. And we're supposed to believe the schizophrenics are the sick ones, is what I was kind of thinking there. But really, what if, in a way, what they're actually more awake than the rest of us in a sense, or can't be lied to as easy as the rest of us? They're actually at an advantage than the rest of us, more knowledgeable perhaps than the rest of us, better to more interpret things than the rest of us. And obviously, I will say, with schizophrenia comes other side effects and other issues and things that aren't great, and a serious issue for people who are diagnosed with this. But on this level alone, I find it interesting that they can gauge how better somebody is becoming from schizophrenia by how much they can be tricked by illusions. I mean, think about that concept. This was done 11 years ago. I need to look into this more and find out where they're at with this research right now. But apparently this is a well-established idea now. This is a well-established concept. I just saw Alpha Talks in the chat there. Alpha Talks will recognize some of the topics we're going to talk about today. Actually, I do want to kind of maybe give him a shout out and go to his channel and show you. So bear with me a second. Let me just quickly share the screen. And what I'll do is I'll just go straight to Alpha Talks channel. I think he's down here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. And if we go down the side here, there's this talk with me talking about the Nephilim clowns 2 years ago. But he actually has made some really great videos about people seeing jesters who are schizophrenic. And he actually interviewed somebody who is a schizophrenic and does see jesters. Monsters in the Mind is one video he did here, for example. The Worm Never Dies. I mean, he's got loads of great videos, to be honest. I should go and check out. Shamans and Method Acting, Sons of God, The Uncanny Valley. Talking about parasites and artists with schizophrenia. And he's saying they often draw clowns and jesters. It's really common that they see these wide grinning monsters when in this schizophrenic mode, and he did an interview with Jerry Marzinski as well, who is a psychiatrist who basically worked with convicts in prisons. And if you actually listen to what Jerry has to say, and I had him on my channel as well, you can go check out my interview with him. It was a live show I did about 2 years ago myself, and talked with the guy. And he tells his story, and he basically came to the conclusion that people with schizophrenia are basically demonically oppressed. They have demons in them, a legion of demons, in fact, more often than not. And it's really gnarly. It's really bad. And he's saying all of the institutions are interested in is drugging people up and suppressing symptoms rather than dealing with the core problem. And none of them are willing to acknowledge the spiritual aspect of schizophrenia. And he basically had his life threatened by the demons speaking through the schizophrenic patients in prisons. People tried to take his life when he was in there, and even told him, the demons told me to kill you. I came here to kill you, but I'm not going to do it. And and he was basically learning quite a lot. Let's just type in Jerry Marzinski so you can get an image of what it looks like. Here he is. And he's been interviewed by a lot of people now, and he's done the rounds. Go listen to his story if you haven't already. And he is adamant, and this is coming from a professional. Here's my talk with him here, this one, 2 years ago. And he's adamant that, this is demonic. And he's not like a religious person either. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell this guy, like, doesn't have a religious background. He's not a Christian or anything like that. He's not even a spiritual dude. He's just a professional. He's just a psychiatrist, a therapist. You know what I mean? It's his job. But he kept encountering this stuff happening over and over again with the people he was talking to. Electrical phenomena, spiritual phenomena, and the entities and his schizophrenic patients all sharing a similar issue of not only just voices talking to them, but the voices having the same narrative, the same agendas. And it's like, you realize they're all actually connected. It's the same entities in many cases. And it's kind of, they're all working together like some kind of parasitic hive mind, and they're electrical in nature, and they actually respond to biblical verses. I think he says specifically Psalms 23. And they hate it when you read these things to them. So they react to the words of God, to spiritual prayer violently. And he's kind of saying, the DSM-5, this ever-changing book of terms, psychiatric terms, are always manipulating and changing the definition of mental illness and schizophrenia to turn it into something that can be medicated rather than the real issue that it's a spiritual problem. And that's his work. That's his opinion. And again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not saying that is 100% the case. I'm going to give all the caveats here now, but that's what somebody who is a medical professional is out there currently saying. And obviously I can't imagine he'll be hired anymore, or any respectable institution will touch him with a 10-foot barge pole for saying stuff like this. I assume his therapeutic career is dead in the water now because he stood up and said, no, this is not psychiatric. This is spiritual in nature. Like these people are demonically oppressed. That's what this is. That's truly what this is, and they've been driven to madness through the demons within them. I mean, imagine that. Like, just think about that concept. And here I am seeing that the academic institutions, like places like Rutgers and these universities, doing experiments on people with schizophrenia. And it's kind of like the schizophrenics see through the illusions that normal humans who have kind of deemed psychologically healthy can't. Like, the psychologically healthy brain keeps seeing the illusion and can't physically change their eyes or their brain to see it another way. But the schizophrenics are just not phased at all, and instantly just their brain doesn't do that locking back into the illusion thing like a normal person will, and it just can't believe it. It just will not see it. It'll just see the illusion for what it is instantly. And it's kind of, well, is that if we're going to pair that with Jerry Marzinski? By the way, I said I'm going to go off so many tangents and theorizations here, so bear with me. But it's kind of, is that like, if Jerry Marzinski's right, and the schizophrenics are basically demonically oppressed, and the voices they're hearing are literally the voices of entities, the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, who are trying to influence humans to do their bidding and get them to partake in things that the demons within them want to partake of, and it's kind of the voices they're hearing are literally the voices of real entities within their bodies that have inhabited them, If that's the case, but it's also the case that those who are demonically oppressed and therefore schizophrenic also have powers and abilities to see the world completely different to people. Their vision has changed. Like, they are seeing perhaps the spirit realm more so. Because it seems to be a common occurrence as well. And again, Vitali from Alpha Talks has talked with people who are schizophrenics who draw jesters and see jesters and draw what they see. They see faces everywhere that look like jesters and clowns, and if that's the case, then it's likely their vision or their capabilities to see the spirit realm have been cracked wide open, because what is infesting like a parasite the spirit realm of our reality in the world, and I write about this in my book, I've talked about this ad nauseum, and I've explained this thoroughly, are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, and they do look like clowns and jesters, especially in their disembodied form. But even when they physically roamed, they had bright-coloured, wide-grinning reptilian features that made them look like clowns by today's standards. And yeah, people draw this regularly, what they see. So I've got another video to share with you here, another example. And this is from, there are many of these. I kind of want to mute them. Yeah, let me just find out. I don't know how to work this. There it is. There's the mute button. So there's plenty of videos where people are sharing what they see on a daily basis as a schizophrenic. You know what I mean? And they're just showing smiling, grinning faces constantly, looking at them all the time. And they're using technology now to kind of share this. So let me just share the screen with you. And I think the audio's on, but I'll turn it off. But if I just play this, for example, let's just play one of them. They see stuff like this, just floating around in front of them, faces appearing, scribbles, shadow entities, laughing, smiling, bulging-eyed creatures and monsters. You got another one here. This is kind of what he just sees everywhere, all the time. Watching him, talking to him, laughing at him. You know what I mean? Just taunting him, always, never leaving. And look how ethereal they look, how disembodied they look, how windy and gloopy and scribbly they are, and how in and out and they are. And it's kind of, they're trying to recreate it here, using technology as best they possibly can. And they're never going to perfectly be able to do it, but I think you're getting the gist or the idea of what's going on. And there is one particular guy. Let's see if I can just go back and find his channel. I think it's Zarod Magical, but he's kind of showing here the hallucinations he kind of randomly just sees. And it's pretty creepy stuff. I don't know if you guys are getting this or if it's lagging weird. Hopefully, I think you would be getting a good view. I'm checking now on OBS, and it looks like it's streaming quite well. But as you can see, this is quite disturbing stuff. But he makes a lot of these where you kind of see these floating ethereal faces and everything, and these heads and everything. This pareidolia, they call it, where you see faces and things where there are no faces. But as somebody who's done psychedelics, I've come to understand that the spirit realm looks like the physical realm, and it's very hard to explain in words. It really is. But if I could try my best, it's kind of like you start to see more of what actually is there, and the mundane thing, something like a cup on a table, becomes a beautifully intricate, perfectly geometrically placed, formed machine pattern right in front of you, emanating and connecting with everything else around it in ways that you just don't ordinarily perceive. And it's psychedelic and weird. And in a way, this is what happens with these faces. They're in everything already. They're already there, and it's kind of the world is infused with it. But our sense perception on a daily basis cannot perceive them normally, unless something's broken or the floodgates are opened in a way and you brute force it through things like psychedelics. So here he is drawing, for example, something that he sees. It's the same guy. I think this could be somebody that Vitali interviewed. I'm not 100%. I think he may have emailed me at one point, actually, because of my work, and sent me some of his work. I'm going to have to pull up the archives and see if I did get a message from this guy. But I might reach out to him for a talk and an interview for him to share the things he sees on my own channel. But he's actually a really brilliant artist as well. And as you can see, we'll go along with this. He starts adding more and more, and it just gets creepier and creepier and stranger. There's the jester entities with the large grins, elongated features, bulging eyes, just harrowing stuff, And again, this is what this particular schizophrenic openly talks about, being a schizophrenic, sees on a regular basis. Pretty messed up, you know what I mean? And here's another example. And it's kind of like they're just always there, grinning. They always have a clownish, more to them, more features to them. And it's madness. So let me switch the screen back here. So I'm leaning more towards, just from somebody who's been researching the spirit realm for a while, and spiritual warfare has written a book on it, yeah, it does seem like something's going on here with schizophrenia. And when it comes to the spirit realm, it seems like people with schizophrenia have this vision thing going on where they start to see more than we normally would be able to see. And that sadly comes with perceiving the creatures that infest our spirit realm. Therefore, they inherently end up going down the route of going crazy, because the demons will drive them crazy. If the Nephilim weren't there, there probably wouldn't be a problem. They'd just be tripping all the time and seeing more and taking in more information than the average person. Illusions wouldn't work anymore because they're basically seeing in 5D now, so these 3D illusions just are instantly just collapsed straight away. The brain doesn't perceive them as 3D illusions anymore. They see beyond the illusion in a sense, quite literally. But because we have this parasitical infection in our spirit realm, which we call demons, which are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, which look like jester clown monsters, the schizophrenics who suddenly, let's use a new age term, open their third eye, but I don't know if that's what's really going on necessarily, but something happened and now that they're perceiving the spirit realm, they get driven insane by the creatures that are already there and suddenly realize, hey, this guy can see us now. Let's get him, basically, and they end up going mad and get mocked and taunted and driven to do crazy things because they're suddenly seeing demons everywhere and then are calling themselves whatever they want to call themselves. But what if the Nephilim wasn't there? What if the demons weren't there and we didn't have that issue? Then yeah, you'd be perfectly within your right, and humans probably were at one point before the fall of Adam, possibly even before Noah. The flood of Noah, people did see this realm and were one with it and connected with it, and there wasn't a parasitical infection of monsters there by that point, you know what I mean? So I think it's not an evil place, it's in and of itself to perceive, because it is the world. It's just our sense perception does not ordinarily let in that much information for us to perceive them. So this could explain why, like I said, schizophrenics actually have this advantage, because they can see past the ordinary three-dimensional sense perception. But the problem is they end up getting driven insane because of the demons that are there. It's like a horrible situation to be in, And what the drugs do, I suppose, is suppress that ability to perceive that realm. But then that comes with other horrible side effects, which makes them lose themselves. Basically become catatonic in many senses, or not the person they once were. And it's a really horrible, sad situation to be in. There's a famous example of an artist. I'm going to show you guys this one. And there's actually a lot of contention about whether any of this is even true or valid. But I'll read you the mainstream understanding, and I'll give you, for posterity, the counter arguments of all of this, just so you're not. I'm not trying to fool you or anything, and I have actually thought about this and thought this through. But this artist called Louis Wayne. Now, you've probably heard me talk about this before on a very old video if you've actually listened, But Louis Wayne, he drew his hallucinations late in life as he was diagnosed with schizophrenia after the death of his wife. Okay. He was actually a famous artist known for drawing cats. He loved cats. This guy just loved cats. He thought they were cute. He loved just painting them in many ways, often pretending to be people. He was well known for his cat portraits. You know what I mean? Look at them here, frolicking outside a summer cottage in Britain. You know what I mean? Quintessential cottage, having a tea party. Look at this one. He's in a trench. It's kind of fencing. It's kind of, he likes anthropomorphizing. Is anthropomorphizing? Is that how you say it? He turns them into human thing, like features and creatures. And look how jolly and jovial all this is and lovely. It's great. But then the story goes, as he descended into madness, his drawings got weird. Things changed, and things started getting a little bit more fractal. And his cat portraits got a little bit more out there, experimental. And before you know it, they started to completely detach from reality. And they even, in many cases, stopped looking like cats and started looking more like the Cheshire Cat or demonic grinning jester monsters. or something straight out of India, like the Rakshasa demons of India, or something like this. Something like the Nephilim would have looked like I've depicted many times of the many cultures. And then eventually they would break down even further to be completely fractalized insectoid creatures, like something you would see on a DMT trip. And by the way, this is like the late 1800s. You know, this is way before all this, until eventually they were just baroque, non-corporeal forms and entities. And this is what I'm saying. You can stare at a cat on DMT and it will turn it eventually into just a blend of pattern and become one with everything around it, because that's how the spirit realm actually looks. But it is the earth at the same time, you know, and this is what he began to do. So that's the story, you know. And it's this again, this isn't this is a medical, you know, psych, whatever, whether this is legit or not, you know, but this isn't like what you would call a medical topic forum, you know, or journal. You know, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia when he was 57. Anthropomorphic cat illustrations. I was right. There you go. Following his descent into schizophrenia, his art began to deviate from its usual style. Distorted shapes, colors, patterns. You know, that's what the story is. You know, and then eventually he started getting violent, so they put him in an institution. This is basically the story. You know, his wife passed away, which kind of drove him insane as well. So a trauma happened, and I thought that was interesting. In lieu of we're talking about spiritual warfare, and it is often the case that trauma is what triggers all of this for many people. People who suffer extreme trauma end up becoming like psychics, basically. You know, get spiritual powers in a sense, and I mean that literally. So I've talked about this plenty of times before, but the Mudang shamans, that was terribly spelled, shamans Korea. So the Mudang shamans of North Korea are the female shamans who act as mediators between the human world and the spirit realm. And they use divination, song, and dance to communicate with spirits of the ancestors, you know, on behalf of rich clients and so forth. But it's actually, if you look into the stories of how a Mudang becomes a Mudang, they suffer extreme trauma. Like something horrible happens to them first. Something very horrible happens to them. They lose someone close to them. They witness a brutal, horrible butchering murder or something like that, or they watch their children get slaughtered, or they I don't know, lose a limb, or something horrible happens. You know what I mean? They get caught in a horrible accident of some kind. Like, they suffer extreme trauma, extreme abuse or something. And then they get visited by a light being who tells them, you are now going to be a shaman for me, and you work for me, and you need to go and find this other shaman, this other Madang, who's going to teach you how to properly communicate with the spirits. Okay, and then that shaman will be waiting for the newbie to turn up, you know, and says, some light being told me to come to you. And they say, yeah, I know, they told me you were coming, and then they'll train them in the way. But trauma is always the first step. Okay, and it seems like this person here, we'll get to Grebner Law in a minute, just you wait. This person here, he lost his wife. And it drove him mad, supposedly. But is it more likely that the pain and suffering and trauma of losing Emily, his wife, opened him up to the spirit realm? So now, technically, he could have chosen the path of becoming a shaman if he was in Korea, you know. But because he was in, you know, 19th century Victorian England, which is ruled by Christendom, no, instead, he didn't go through the shamanistic routes. Instead, he was diagnosed as insane, or clinically insane, because he's seeing this spirit realm of a sort, you know. And what did he see on the other side? Well, I think he started to draw the types of things he was seeing. And yeah, it got weird. You know what I mean? He got very weird. And he was institutionalized late in his life, and that's kind of where he died. That's what happened in a mental hospital in Tooting. After he started to get violent, apparently at the age of 64, it says here. Now, the interesting thing is, I looked into this. He apparently died of a stroke. at 79 years old. So there's if you want to know his ending. But the interesting thing is, other people argue, well, actually, the thing that's always shown about Louis Wayne's work. So some more images of his cats and things here. They always show like this progression of insanity. You know, they always show his pictures progressing and getting more and more out there as time goes on. Is what they say, you know. But people have said this is actually not real. Someone's just put all these pictures together in this order, but he never dated his work. So we don't actually know when he did these. It could have been that he was also drawing this kind of stuff while also drawing that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's kind of, he was just doing them at the same time, and experimenting as an artist is like the throwaway. You see a lot of people saying this is like, there's no actual evidence that these were in order. It's just for some reason, some journal in the 1960s, some psychological journal, while talking about schizophrenia, put all these pictures in a particular order and said this is an example of a descent into schizophrenic madness. But the argument is, no, that's nonsense. We don't know that that's what was going on. He could have been doing these before he was schizophrenic, for all we know. They were never dated. We don't know when he made them. We just don't know. But in line with the narrative we just read, it's likely these were created in the institutions after the fact, as his mind was losing more and more grip with the physical 3D dimension we all tend to live in as mentally healthy people, as they call us, you know. But as his vision was getting more and more intense of the spirit realm, and he's becoming more of an ultimate shaman in a sense, you know, from any other culture's perspective, things were just getting weird. And he was driven mad by it. Probably some things there were trying to talk to him or communicate with him. For all I know, I have no idea. It's a scary thought, isn't it? Like, because look, I only say this from experience, because I'm somebody I've done some pretty powerful entheogens in my time. Back in the day, I've left that life behind. It was over a decade ago now. You know what I mean? Like, I was born again in 2014. Haven't touched anything like that since. Completely sober, completely clean. But in my old life, before I was saved, I was that kind of guy, exploring all these realms, you know, and these consciousnesses through different chemicals. And I thank God that we get to come back after 10 minutes. I couldn't imagine constantly perceiving reality like that. Like, I would end up in an institution, because I wouldn't be able to be in the world. I wouldn't be able to live anymore. I wouldn't be able to interact with things. You'd lose it. You would lose it, because everything is this blended psychedelic mess, and you can't differentiate between objects anymore, or depth, and everything like that just disappears. You know, everything just becomes this. It's just madness, pure madness. And then if the demons start turning up as well, because now you're in their domain, it's kind of, well, heaven help you. You know, like, you're in trouble. So I have extreme empathy for anybody who's going through schizophrenia. If, you know, you want to take this from the spiritual angle and the spiritual interpretation, like, this is far worse than just, oh, they just hear voices, which is what people's kind of die-cast it as. It's like, it's far more complex, you know. Scary stuff, like real scary stuff. And you know what, Misha? I'm not going to lie. I'm sick of you and your accusations that everything I'm doing is not leading to Jesus or something like that. Like, I'm a Christian. I profess Christ with my mouth on this channel daily, and his death and resurrection, the free gift of salvation that we should all accept. I'm a believer, and I talk about that all the time. But your underhanded jibes, I'm just done with it. So for that reason, you're done. I'm sorry. I don't have the patience or time for that anymore. I've given you plenty of chances. That's it. Okay, yeah, you're out of here. I've had enough. I get accusations a lot from people for reasons I don't understand. It's kind of, and I get a lot of people lately kind of saying I've said things that I haven't said, or interpreting my words to mean something that they just do not mean. And I think it's a consequence of just, as the channel gets bigger, people trust me less. Like, because we're a conspiratorial bunch, and I guess I don't blame them for that. But yeah, that's a long time coming. What just happened there? For anyone who saw that or what was going on, trust me, that was a long time coming. But there we go. Anyway, back to schizophrenia. I seriously have empathy for these people, and if we go back to what Jeremiah Marzinski was saying, they can be helped through prayer. They actually can. Like he was saying, they hate hearing the Lord's Prayer. They hate hearing the Psalms. Like the demons within just cannot stand it, and it's kind of, he started practicing this in his practice, and to help and he was getting positive results from his patients once they started reading the Word. Things like this were going on, and it's kind of okay. So prayer and fasting will get rid of demons no matter what state you're in. No matter what state you're in, like how far you're gone or whatever it is, whether you've been deemed mentally insane or schizophrenic by the state or whatever it is, just prayer and fast, and you will get better. And I have faith in that. I think that works in many ways, especially when it comes to stuff like this, issues of the mind specifically. Again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional, but I'm a believer in Christ and the power of the Holy Spirit and the power of prayer and fasting, and I would recommend, whatever you got to lose if you're in this situation, or one of your loved ones or family members are in this situation, just tell them to read the Word and pray and fast and get close to God and have a relationship with His Son. I mean, I think that's the best way to do it, isn't it? I mean, what more can we do in a time like this, in a time of complete deception, where I feel like mental illness is on the rise in a way that's becoming kind of popular as well? It's scary stuff. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick break, guys, and I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about Greb and the law. I'm going to go back to my Nephilim clown research. I'm going to show you a new subject matter of a future video, which I've only just kind of started to look into thanks to MK Ryan, who reminded me of this monster that's out there, which is just pure nightmare fuel. But it's an example of something, actually, a trend we're seeing in modern society, which I think leads back to the encouragement of people to dress in a way that represents these entities in the spirit realm, so they can create ready channels for the spirits to get into our reality through people who dress this way. And there's another industry artist out there who's plastered through all the big industry names and places and galleries, who is quite literally just straight up channeling demons, as far as I'm concerned. And again, I've shown many examples of this throughout time on my channel, and I've got another one to show you, but we'll get to that after we take a quick break. And I will give you some context. This comes from a long-time subscriber, a member of our Telegram group. This comes from Rachel, and she's made a song which she has said, here, go share it. She's also an artist. You'll find many of her own paintings of black orbs and trees, and you'll see them weave throughout this little music video she's made with her song. And you know what I like to do on my channel? I like to share other people's creativity and work on my channel all the time. And she has kindly allowed me to share her song with you guys. So here it is, guys. I'm going to share Rachel's work with you. She hasn't got any links that I'm aware of. If she does, I'm sure she'll message me and I'll attach them down below when possible. But she didn't leave me with any links for this that I know. But here is Rachel's song while I take a quick break and have a drink.
And
And we're back. I hope you enjoyed that song there by Rachel. And maybe she'll have some more for us in the future. But I'm back. I've had a bit of a drink. I feel like I haven't had enough. My throat is still killing me. Just let me have another quick one. I'm trying to swallow too close to the camera so you guys don't have to listen to that kind of stuff. But yeah, you're right. The trolls are coming in heavy in the chat tonight, aren't they, guys? Just quickly before I carry on with the show, Orty321 asks, kind of off topic, but do you have suggestions for someone who keeps relapsing on cannabis, Paul? Yes, I would say go and find something else to do to fill that time. Cannabis is a tough one, look, because I've been there. I smoked for 8 years straight, and I quit cold turkey. I haven't touched it since now, but since 2016, I think, is when I quit. And it's the first 2 weeks are the worst, really. After that, it's a problem of habit. You need to find something else to replace that time where you would normally go and smoke. You need to find something else to do, basically. And this is your opportunity to go and be productive, go and do something that's more beneficial, more profitable, not just monetarily, but in many ways in your life. Go and do that instead. And also, you'll find that it's not actually the cannabis. You're not addicted to cannabis. You're running away from something. And you're suppressing dealing with a problem that you don't want to deal with. That's usually what it actually is. And cannabis helps you forget. That's all it really is. So you probably have some stuff in your life, I assume. Again, I'm assuming here, but you probably have some stuff in your life you need to go and work out. You need to go and get to the bottom of. You've been kicking, I don't know how long you've been smoking for, but for someone like me who 8 years, I was kicking cans down the road for 8 years straight. And when I quit, all my problems prior to that all came flooding back that I have not been dealing with. Personal problems, problems of ego, problems of self, relationship problems with family and friends, all sorts of problems that I was running away from and kicking the can down the road with every joint I smoked. Suddenly I was dealt with sober. It was there and I was sober and I had to deal with it all of a sudden again, and I can no longer just let it go and forget. And these are real things that if you deal with them will benefit your life greatly, but they're going to be painful to deal with, which is why you've been avoiding it, through the drug. And that tends to be what I've realized myself. And my advice to you is deal with those problems, deal with the trauma, process it properly, internalize, grow, go through the painful processes you need to go through so you're no longer reliant on something to forget as well. That's my all-round generic advice for somebody who's relapsing. I give you many reasons there what an individual may relapse, other than the lame excuse that I just like the taste or I just enjoyed the feeling. It's just fun. It's nothing to do with that. It's usually to do with either your trauma avoidance, self-actualization avoidance. Avoiding something big tends to be the reason why people relapse. It's easier just to get high than to deal with the thing you've been running away from for years. That tends to be it. So there you go. That's my quick answer to that question, Orty. I hope that helps in some way. Best of luck. You can do it. I have faith. I'll be praying for you. Well, looks like Wake Up or Else is here. Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us. Best therapy for me and my schizophrenic bud. Sacred ground is out hiking and camping in the Highlands in Scotland. That sounds beautiful, John. Absolutely. Go out there and get with nature. Completely agree. So anyway, let's get back to the presentation. We're talking about schizophrenia. I gave a bit of a presentation on that. We're going to kind of sidetrack away from the schizophrenia topic, and we're kind of going to go into modern art, the state of modern culture, and the connection to the spirit realm, and how we're seeing manifestations of the demonic in our world today in ways in which people may not necessarily always recognize, which is what my body of work with the Nephilim Like Clowns is all about. How we're seeing what the Nephilim looks like manifest in the physical realm through people who are channeling them. And it's not recognizable until you know what you're looking for. But I've talked in the past about somebody called Lee Bowery. So let me just quickly show you Lee Bowery. So Lee Bowery was an avant-garde artist from the 80s to the early mid-90s. He was a fashionista, and he was known for his disgustingly outlandish and body-morphic clothes and costumes. And avant-garde is like a term used. It's kind of like, these clothes are art. They're not supposed to be worn by the public in outlets, that type of stuff, to try and justify it, you know. So this is Lee Bowery. And yeah, if anyone was channeling the Nephilim, it was this guy. Let's put it that way. And he was actually a giant. This guy was huge. This guy was a hulking beast of a man, from what I've heard. He had many partners. I think he died of AIDS in the end. Very sexually promiscuous, very much a part of that culture at the time. Friends and rubbing elbows with a lot of other people in that time, that culture. In the industry, in the British media industry as well. But he created these costumes which had this kind of gimp look to it, shall we say. It's the only way to really describe it. Checkered patterns, wide grinning mouths, pale white face, bulging eyes, you name it, he was doing it. Name a Nephilim feature, this guy was making costumes and artwork based on that concept and idea. Here he is, looking like... Isis, shall we say, or the sun god, or Apollo as well. Red and white a lot was his common motif. And again, this is clownish features. These are Nephilim features that he's channeling here through his artwork. Here he is again doing the same thing. And yeah, very grotesque. I think here he is. Is it with Boy George there? Is that what it is? Yeah. So again, rubbing elbows with all those types of people of the time, very front and center of the industry, the fashion industry of the era, an icon in his own self. Here he is, one-eyed symbolism, checkered, you know, very questionable, you know, lauded as a god of modern art, especially in death. He was elevated to new levels, you know. But what he did was popularize a style, which was then emulated by future generations in fashion. And he definitely influenced a lot of fashion going forward. Like, a lot. It's uncanny, especially those in the gay community as well. And you'll find Bowery-inspired artwork and clothing is a common phraseology in modern art, you know, Bowery-esque. Like, here he is again on a checkerboard floor. His costumes, the things he made... very satanic. There's no other word for it. Openly satanic, open Nephilim worship. But it looked silly at the time because no one knew that Nephilim looked like clowns when this stuff was being made. They thought it was all very unique. He was doing something very, very fresh and modern and new, you know. Here's a painting of himself, I think, by the nephew of Sigmund Freud, Lucian Freud, painted him. And yeah, Lucian Freud is known for making these brutal, horrible-looking portraits, which are just made the human body look like an absolute mess. Again, he was lauded as a god of art. No beauty standards whatsoever. But he certainly loved his Apollo sun stuff. I think he even had a song or something where I'm a child of the sun or something like that. I can't remember what it is. Go watch my video on this if you haven't already, of the Nephilim Clown series. You can't miss it. I think it's like episode 40 or 39 or something like that. But we're really going to break down this guy's life. Anyway, jump forward to the modern age, and the echoes of his work are still coming through to especially the modern non-binary gay scene of art, and we now have people like Greb Nalor kicking about doing their thing, who were very clearly Bowery inspired. It's obvious where she got her idea from. Like, there's no other. She's not that clever. She's not that unique, shall we say? But again, red and white is the theme she rolled with. This is her thing. This is her shtick, and it's interesting because I look at this image, and it reminds me of one of the things I actually. Let me just quickly share this. I'm going to go through some files on my computer. I do actually have a file of an Indian Theym ritual where they're channeling their ancestor spirits, and she looks just like it. It's like she's basically very similar style, you know. Not identical, not the same, but the aesthetical similarities are there. So let me just quickly try and find that image, that image while I'm talking to you. But I like I said, you can see this Grebna Law is very clearly a part of the same game, and she too, like Bowery, has been lauded as the latest in avant-garde, boundary-pushing brilliance of modern arts type stuff. You know, like there's nothing better than this, shall we say? No greater form of artwork than what you see here currently, type of thing. But if I just share the screen with you guys, this is actually an Indian ancestor spirit worship ritual where they're doing the same thing. Even the chains are the same. Like, it's not even that different, really. Even like the metal around the face and this adding of the style and the headdress. And this is just from my own archives that I've collected over many years. You know what I mean? To get this image, but that is clearly where she got her inspiration for this from. And this is straight up ancestor spirit channeling. The person you see there on the left, the head shaman of the Theyan ritual, after jumping through fire and doing all sorts of things with swords and whips and punishing themselves and taking drugs and channeling and chanting and all sorts of stuff and dancing, they get possessed by the spirits of their ancestors. That's literally what happens here. And then the village come and give the shaman who's been possessed by the spirit stuff like chickens and alcohol and drugs and all sorts of other things. And the person who's possessed has to bite the head off that chicken and drink its blood, for example, because the demon within wants the sacrifice offering and to taste the blood. And it's now using the shaman's mouth and tongue to taste those things and experience doing that stuff. So that's why it would be seen as terrible of the shaman not to take the offering, because it's like you're not letting the ancestor spirit have what it wants. You know what I mean? That's clearly where she got her inspiration for this particular piece from. So yeah, but you wouldn't know that. Anyone who's in the art industry doesn't know that. Okay, they're not taught that kind of stuff. You have to go and find it, and I found it, you know. And that's what this is. That's what this really is all about. She's just brought into the modern Western art scene ancestor spirit worship and channeling of demons. But then when in this interview, it's such a softball interview. It's just ridiculous. The pretentious twaddle that these artists say when interviewed is just ridiculous. It's like, do you have a routine for entering into a creative headspace? Play hard, have fun. Getting on board the creative roller coaster is easy. Getting off is harder, but you can always jump. I meet with friends, scribble a few notes, blah, 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 blah. The internet is magic. You can click your way to heaven, preferably in bed with coffee. And anyway, she gets it from the internet. So she gets inspiration, is what she basically said. Do you have habits to build yourself to faster creativity? Research, reading, watching images of inflatable objects, bubbles, spheres, subatomic particles inspire me. I am emotionally attracted to wearing huge inflatable shapes. Feeling big and soft makes me feel powerful and ready for anything. So what you're saying is mimicking demons in the spirit realm, these schizophrenic jesters that people see, or you know, these the clowns, the Nephilim, makes you feel powerful. Yeah, and ready for anything. That's basically what channeling demons is for in these cultures. It's to give you power, it's to give you abilities, and to give you thoughts and strength, or whatever it is you want from the demon. It's a transaction, you know, as long as you feed it and sacrifice to it appropriately. And it's like, I'm fascinated how human breath can basically stay in balloons or whatever. Is what she's basically saying here. The brain is a cosmic cell phone bombarded with calls from the primordial energy of the Big Bang. It's the movement of atoms and molecules. Ideas are not generated in the brain, but rather received from the endless universes out there. So she channels her information from the spirit realm. I believe what makes us open to receiving an idea is because we have a problem that needs a solution. Interacting with others is the best way to come in contact with this energy. Or dress like a demon. And the thing will get in contact with you instead. Here she is with the black and white lines. And again, this is very Lee Bowery-esque. You can see she's continuing what he basically died and didn't continue. There's been Bowery-esque movement since, but I think she's just picking up the mantle as Grebna Law, basically. The surrealist game Exquisite Corpse is kind of an eerie AI that explores the mystique of accident as a collective collage of words or images. It mixes old ideas to create something new. It always works to give you something comical, strange, and fresh. Anyway, what unexpected turns did your life take to lead you to become who you are today? A trauma. So let that sink in. What did I just talk about earlier? We're talking about Mudang shamans, how they get opened up to the spirit realm and to be able to communicate with spirits because they suffer extreme trauma. Okay? We're talking about schizophrenics like Louis Wayne, whose wife Emily died when he was 40, sending him into a schizophrenic spiral where he started seeing the spirit realm basically and even drawing it in his own paintings as he got more and more detached from reality due to the trauma. I think it's no different here for Grevnelaw. Something happened to this poor woman, and she cannot stop emulating whatever's going on in the spirit realm now. She's manifesting thoroughly through this. She's trying to clearly understand it, square it, become one with it, I don't know, make herself kind of accepting of whatever hell's going on in her mind right now. But she's clearly a tortured soul due to some kind of trauma that had happened. And now she's out there as an open proponent to try and make other people emulate, copy, and become one with her movements of Grevnelaw and dress in the same red and white, black aesthetic to open more channels to demons. Does she know she's doing this? Probably not. This is often how it works. And if you actually look into this, if you actually look at just basic, like, how she would explain herself, it's like Grevnelaw is a cosmic seed sown in early spring that brings to life new beings, forms, plants, animals, and humans. It's an ongoing creative process that uses pop music, visual arts, and performative elements to address contemporary issues. It also acts as a liberating force from social pressure and prejudice, with ad hoc performances that happen in the moment. Performances are site-specific, using the 3-minute pop song format and a red and white color code to communicate an easily recognizable style. Visual artist, performer, singer, songwriter, presented collaborative works in the following context. So New York in the Guggenheim Museum, San Francisco in the New Langdon Arts, Buenos Aires in Teatro. Basically, she's been in all the major arts, Edinburgh International Festival. She's been in all the galleries. She's been pushed. She's been allowed to do this and get on a bigger scale because she is basically propagating the style they want people to emulate, which is emulating the spirit realm and the creatures within it. And yes, they look like clowns. Okay, and she's basically doing exactly what Lee Barry did. It's no different. It's the same thing. It quite literally is the same thing. Here he is, and here's Grevnelaw, basically a carbon copy, channeling demons openly in the public, but they call it avant-garde art. They call it art. Okay? And what she's channeling certainly looks like a clown, doesn't it? By today's standards. Because the Nephilim, the demons on the other side in the spirit realm, look like clowns. I'm sorry that's the case. And clown's the word we have. But really, this is just what happens when you hybridize a dragon, a seraphim angel, with a human. You get something psychedelically monstrous and weird and fractaled and trippy and strange. And in a disembodied form, they probably would look something more like this in the spirit realm now. All mashed together as one. They are legion after all. They no longer have their own bodies to differentiate themselves from one another in the spirit realm. They've all blended together into one homogeneous mass. And I think in a way her work emulates this homogeneity of the spirit of the demons in the spirit realm now. How they are all kind of one coloured force with no bodies to separate, all blending into one and one another as like a hive mind, parasitical consciousness of sorts. A collective consciousness, you could call it, which is what they often try and push onto humanity, isn't it? And say that we have a collective consciousness. I think demons have a collective consciousness. I think humans don't. I think we're all fearfully and lovingly made by God as individuals, separate from one another, with our own purposes and reason for being created. But the demons, who never should have been created, I think they are a hive mind. And this is hive mind behavior. She has a sycophant cult of followers who emulate it, and become one with the Greb and the law image, basically. And she presents herself here as a god, as a goddess, in many ways. It's nothing new, though. It's nothing new. As I've explained to you, this is an old, ancient practice which many cultures all over the earth do to communicate with their ancestor spirits. If we look at, for example, African ancestor spirit worship, and I know Africa's a very big continent with many different cultures, okay, and with many ways of doing it, but they all fundamentally follow a form of ancestor spirit worship where they dress in crazy, colourful, weird, beaded clothing like this and channel the spirits. And this, to me, is not really that far removed from what we just saw Grebnalaw doing. Is it? Is it really that much difference? She has her own culturally specific style, sure. You know what I mean? She's definitely zhuzhed it up a bit, shall we say, something like that. But this is an ancient practice. This is what they do to communicate with their ancestors in Africa. In many different cultures, they all have their own styles, like I said, their own differentiating aesthetics across the continent. But every continent does this. Every continent does this. It's no different. Grebnalaw's not special. These people aren't special. They're not unique. They're not as clever as they think they are. They're actually just following a very old practice of communing with spirits. Communing with the demons, the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. So this is a bit of a classic vibe episode today. I used to talk like this all the time. You got these things as well in African Vodun. These are, is it the Zangbito, I think they call them, or something like that? Yeah, the Zangbito. And this thing just starts moving on its own, and there's no people inside of it. They set fire to themselves and all sorts of things. And there's, we're supposed to believe, there's a person inside of that, but no, the spirit possesses it. It's completely empty until it just stands up on its own and starts dancing, and the whole village is involved. And again, it's a very ethereal creature. It looks like, with often red tones thrown in there with white tones as well. It's very common. And again, they venerate these things, and it's got a mask there to represent its face. And it's the spirit in the Zangbito. That's what the tribe believes and goes by. And that's what they understand. And then from there, these are now sound suits. So what happened in modern art is someone called Nick Cave took this ancient practice of channeling the ancestors and made sound suits and put them in galleries, okay? And whipped his body around, dancing in them and all sorts of things, and made it look like how they do it in these African cultures. Exactly the same, but made it modern art, and didn't really tell anybody that he stole it from the Africans. I think he's African himself, but he made it out like it's something brand new and didn't really explain, no, these are how these cultures channel the ancestor spirits. That's the African flavor, but modern art tries to normalize it through people like Nick Cave, Again, a fashionista creating avant-garde clothing that isn't supposed to be worn in a very real, literal sense, but is a statement piece. And it's not even just this. I mean, he also stole it from the Bulgarians as well. Bulgarian cookery. And they also wear these to channel. Well, actually, in Europe, they use it to ward away evil spirits. They dress like demons to scare demons away. I don't think it's true, though. I don't think it works like that. I think if these other cultures are dressing like demons to channel them, you suddenly dressing like them to scare them away doesn't change what's really going on, But obviously, people, like I said, people like Nick Cave have basically stolen these ancient practices of channeling demons and turned it into modern art and took all the credit. They're not unique, they're not special, and Grebner law is certainly no different. So there's another part of the presentation, guys. Okay, guys. I'm seeing my screen is stuck. Have you been able to hear me, though? Audio's good. Right, okay. Give me a second. Let me try something here. You haven't missed much. I can just show you what I talked about very quickly. If you're listening on audio only on Spotify, it doesn't really matter. But I can get this fixed for you. Give me a second. So I do the screen here. Let me just close that off. Open that back up. There's always a technical difficulty. I must have been getting too real, you know. I must have been getting too on the truth, as it always is, and then something happens. I must have been showing too much stuff. My phone was popping off. I think my wife was trying to tell me. Yeah, my wife was trying to tell me. Let me see what I think it only just happened. Did it only just happen, guys? I think it looks like you're stuck on Grebner law from what I can see. I'm so sorry you had to just stare at some words for a little bit. Yeah, give me a second, guys. Let me just turn that off. And what I'll do is I'll add a new screen share. Because that one seems to have absolutely just crashed. And I think we're good. We will not... We'll hide OBS. Okay. And I think we're back. I think you guys can see that now. I had to create a new one. That one crashed. There we go. So let me quickly show you what I just said, just for posterity. So, like I said, she basically, Grebner law, stole her work from Lee Bowery, which is this guy. She's not unique, she's not special. But even then, she stole her work from Indian, like, worship of demons is no different. But even that alone, if we go and to look at the Mudang shamans who suffered trauma as well, like her, they too went through the same thing. It's clearly just a way of channeling demons and just modernized into modern art. And then just for good measure, I'll show you the sound suits of Nick Cave. So here's Nick Cave's sound suits, where he'd jump around and dance around and they'd frill all over the place, wearing these patterns, you know, and basically dressing like hairy demons, wearing colourful masks, like. But he called it modern art, you know. But this is stolen straight from the cookery of Bulgaria. Here, as you can see, it's pretty much identical, not different at all. But then, again, I don't want to repeat myself because I said it all. Now you just got the visuals to understand what I was showing you. It's nothing special, nothing clever. They've just translated these ancient practices of channeling demons into the modern art, called it avant-garde, and got other people to emulate it and copy it, and made it popular for people to basically channel demons. It's a sneaky system, it's a sneaky game, and like I said, Grebner law is no better. She is just more of the same, and even her work, her body suits, these type of things, these warping things. I mean, here she is looking like Lee Bowery again, as Lee Bowery. Here he is. You know, it's a continuation of the same old game. And then, like I said, they create their little cult sycophants who copy them and popularize it and spread the idea, and it just becomes a whole thing of its own, takes on a life of its own. But she's obviously channeling the spirits of the Nephilim, and they're just emulating it. So in terms of African ancestor spirit worship, let's go to worship. This is how they dress. This is the things they wear. Very similar to Nick Cave's sound suits, almost identical in many ways. The Zang Beto is another example. I mean, look at this. This looks just like something that either Nick Cave would wear, or even Grebner Law. Here we go. What a mess. Yeah, so you got the white face, you got some red on there, some black lines, some multicolored patterns and everything. And yeah, these people have just been copying it. Basically, it's not that different, especially not, again, Nick Cave's work. And he is an not this guy. Sound suits. You know, this guy is an avant-garde fashionista. You know, he creates these sound suits, which he basically ripped and copied straight from these ancestor spirit worship cultures in Africa. They're not that different at all. In fact, there's actually one that looks identical to this, which people wear. And there's another example. In the Vodun cultures, it's quite common and to communicate. You got these things, as you can see. And this is where Nick Cave is stealing all of his stuff from and calling it something new and again, avant-garde is the word. The pretentious. It's all pretentious nonsense. But here they are wearing masks, jumping around, dancing around, and this is inspired by the African Zangbitos. Zangbito, which again are possessed by spirits and dance. And again, whitening up the face is a common way of getting in touch with the spirits, just like clown makeup. And these are the Zangbitos, which suddenly just jump up off the ground and start dancing. Honestly, you should see some videos of these things. I can't really play them for copyright reasons. But yeah, the idea is they're actually empty. There's no one in there. But the way these things move, it seems like there has to be a person in there. But they constantly lift it up and show there's no one in there, and they set fire to it at the end, and there's no person or anything. It's really trippy. Really trippy stuff. And the whole village believes there's a spirit in there. The whole village is completely on board with it being a demon spirit in there, an ancestor spirit dancing for them. But again, Nick Cave's sound suits are just a copy of these things. That's what he's doing. And again, also a mix of the cookery worship as well. So there you go. There's the images of what I was just talking about, in case you missed. I'm sorry I had to repeat myself. Maybe I will cut this out for the Spotify listeners. Who knows? Maybe I'll keep it. You know, these things add character to the podcast, don't they? But yeah, let me just quickly turn that off. I think it froze on you guys again, didn't it? Maybe it's just too much. Maybe it's just too much info. Maybe there's nothing I can do about it. So there's a bit of a lag there too. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying. It says I've not dropped any frames and everything's fine. There shouldn't be a problem. My CPU's only using 11% of power, so this should not be happening. I don't know why it is. There's always going to be technical difficulties. I apologize, but you get the idea. Go and search for yourself what I'm talking about. But I just had to share that. What I'll do, I'll actually make a proper video for the Nephilim Look Like Clown series. I'm going to add a Grebner Law up there as the latest one. I did Lee Barry. I may as well do Grebner Law, because the modern art scene is just a mess. I hate the modern art scene. It's just full of these pretentious, low talent, low skilled, weirdo losers who are lauded as like the greatest in advancement of artistic design and understanding and skill. And it's kind of the not. So they're all just circle jerking weirdos who just, I don't know. It's not what you know, it's who you know, is what I'm trying to say. And clearly, someone like Grebner Law, I don't care. She might not even know it, but she's an industry plant. They've let her get that far, and it's get out of hand, because they want people like her out there just destroying standards of beauty and encouraging more and more people to invite into their life through the imagery channels to the spirit realm. That's really the game. And if we're in the little season of Satan, I mean, come on, I mean, that would be the game, right? Open as many channels to the spirit realm as possible in this time, you know? That's exactly what they would be doing. You talking steel talk, Paul is wired down on YouTube. Yeah, it happens, honestly. Usually when I'm on a roll and I'm doing something really, really good on the live show, there's always a problem. And I think I may have overloaded it with all the images. Maybe all the tabs open at once. Maybe my bandwidth just couldn't handle it. I don't think so, though, because I have pretty decent internet, you know, at pretty damn fast speeds. Like, we're in the hundreds, like in the 300s, 400s, and there shouldn't really be a problem. So I don't know what happened there. Oh well. And again, I've got everything on a delay. I've got the bit rate set to a decent level as well. There shouldn't be this issue, but it always happens. I feel like stepping on your pictures, Paul, said Madbax. The red outfit looks like something Lady Gaga would wear, says Rita. Exactly. Well, Lady Gaga's just the same thing. She's Bowery inspired. He's the guy that encouraged all these artists in the modern day to kind of continue that style. And it literally is just a pick up the mantle, carry on, take the baton and run type stuff. They've just copied and pasted everything he did to keep it going in the new generation, on and on and on and on. And I think there's something about that particular style that we saw there with Lee Bowery and Grebner Law, which is intrinsic to maintaining a strong connection to the demon spirit realm. I really do. And I think a clown is like a caricaturized, childish cartoon version of what Grebner Law's doing. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's very much akin to what the ancestor spirit worship cultures are doing. White the face, red wig, multicolored pattern clothing all over the body with ribbons and tassels and diamonds and bells and whatever, and do a silly dance, red the mouth up in some way. It's all clown stuff to us, but it's ancestor spirit worship to them. It's ancient, it's sacred, but we're just not supposed to realize that. And so people like Grebner Law, we just think it's a trivial, I don't know, what do you call it, a novelty. But really, it's high-level, demonic, satanic demon channeling. Like, right in our face, and we just don't realize it, And she talks the talk like I'm channeling the galactic energies of subatomic particles through my consciousness type talk. She's all in on the New Age nonsense, it's all there. Was the audio there as well? It's been like 20 minutes long. I apologize, guys. It's been like that for like 10 minutes. I apologize. Honestly, I can't see that when I'm sharing the screen and clicking on things. I don't see what you see. I need more people to... People were messaging me. My phone's on silent naturally, isn't it? So what can I do about that? 33 years old says, I saw the truth as weapon video. Seems to me truth is not a weapon. Lol. And people should generally promote the truth and speak the truth and walk the truth, etc. Well, yeah, I think, well, if you're saying that, I think you're missing the point of the video altogether, to be honest. I can see All-Star Converse sneakers go evil. Devil shoes they are now. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Yes, we can hear, but the screen is stuck. Yeah, sorry guys, it's just, it happens. This is not the first time these things happen. There's always technical difficulties. Again, there's nothing I can do about it. I apologize. But any questions you want to get in, guys, while we're in an hour and a half here, that's my presentation. I don't have much more to say. This is the Truth of Therapy sessions. If there's anything you want to ask me, anything you want to discuss or talk about, throw it at me. I do maybe want to just, while I'm here, maybe throw in something that kind of ties in loosely with all these things, but it's something that's been more prominent in my mind lately, and it's gang stalking. I know it might sound a bit like you might not know what I'm talking about there. But there is this phenomena where some people are adamant they're being followed, antagonized, attacked, people trying to kill them, and little things are happening. People are like stood outside their house or the workplace, like the bosses are against them, or everything's against them. People are cutting them up on the road randomly, and it's like anything that can go wrong in the day, somebody is there to make that thing go wrong or inconveniencing them. And it's like they're being worn down, broken down on a daily basis by people all around them that are seemingly just disparate, disconnected people that have no connection to one another or relation to the targeted individual. So they seem like paranoid, delusional, schizophrenic people who believe everyone's out to get them. But this is actually a real phenomena. And the people who do this are called gang stalkers or perpetrators who get a target given to them who they might not even know. But it's their job to use enough information and get enough knowledge about this individual to basically make their life hell and drive them insane, discredit their person, their personality, the any credentials they had, and basically gaslight them into insanity, or in some cases, at the extreme cases, kill them at the end of it as well. Obviously make sure to make it like a suicide. And what an absolutely terrifying concept that is, and I understand this is extremely triggering for people who do believe themselves to be victims of gang stalking. But this is another example of kind of like mental illness. The society can use it as a weapon against us. It's kind of like they can make people seem like they're insane when they're actually not, and then use the systems in place to institutionalize people or get them out of the picture because of the way we view it. When, as I mentioned at the start, there's many factors behind what can make someone paranoid. Like, it's not paranoia if it's true. You know what I mean? It's like, but I don't know enough about gang stalking. It's just one of those things I've kind of dipped in and out of throughout the years and heard people talking about. And I understand there's a huge counterculture out there to gang stalking theorists. So there's a lot of memes out there making jokes against people who claim to be gang stalked. And it's kind of like they think everybody's an enemy, to the point where like there's like images of them there with a sniper rifle about to shoot a completely innocent person. It's kind of like, there's my gang stalker again, right on time, and it's kind of like they're trying to. There's people out there who think gang stalkers, people who claim to be gang stalked, are just just lunatics who are completely detached from reality, are probably schizophrenic, and are just interpreting everything as an attack against them when it's not. And that sounds gaslighty to me. And I would prefer, as a conspiracy theorist, I'm going to give those claiming to be gang stalked the benefit of the doubt. And I'm going to believe that that kind of stuff probably is actually happening. There probably are shadow, shady organizations out there who do that kind of thing in extreme cases. But the problem is, it's kind of like those who are claiming to be targeted individuals, it seems like, why them? They're literally, and no offense, a nobody who did nothing and had no impact on anybody in any way, shape, or form, or influence. So that's where it gets questionable. It's kind of like, why them? And then you can get into, well, it's demonic. It's like, another layer to this I've heard is that it's actually nothing to do with a shadowy organization of paid people out there purposefully annoying people and irritating people and making people's lives hell knowingly. It's actually demonic influence making people do things at the right time to annoy another person. And the person who does the annoying thing, the supposed perp, doesn't even realize they've inconvenienced this person who's a victim. Like, they could be driving their car and they decide to go left today rather than right. And by turning left, they just cut up the victim. And that victim has to slam on and almost got hit, almost died. And the perp is like, whoa, that was close, and just went on with their day. But it was actually a demon that said, turn left. And they did it. They were influenced by it, and they did that thing. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, throughout the victim's day, lots of people or agents in the Matrix have been used as pawns that way to make their day hell. Like, and it's kind of, none of those people know that they were used for that purpose, or that was what was. I've heard that as well, and that just opens a whole new can of worms, doesn't it? When you really start thinking about that concept and linking it back to everything we've talked about spiritual warfare, demons, the whole schizophrenia thing, the trauma, how people can be and are influenced, and in some cases in these ancestor spirit worship cultures willingly communicate with demons. And I from my cursory glance into gang stalking, I'm also privy to believe there's a spiritual element to all of this, a seriously spiritual element to all of this. And if anyone out there is kind of affected by this, get in touch with me and let me know where you stand on what's happening to you. Why do you think it is happening to you exactly? What did you do to be targeted? Do you believe it's spiritual or is it literal? Do you think people are actually paid to do this to you? Or do you believe it's more spiritual and demonic? One person gave me an example that the husband or the in-laws wanted them out of the picture because the partner wanted a divorce but didn't want to seem like the bad person. Do you get what I mean? So they were very well connected, powerful people who had started a organized smear campaign against them. Do you get what I mean? Which involved gangstalking and the rest of it to make the victim appear insane and delusional to justify the separation and all that type of stuff. So I think that could happen on small scales for interpersonal reasons. But I'm trying to bridge that gap now. It's kind of like some of these individuals who claim to be targeted, I'm struggling to see why they were targeted. Do you get what I mean? Like, and I'm not diminishing you. I'm not saying like you're not worthy to be targeted in a way, but it's kind of like there has to be reason for such an agenda. Things cost money and organization and time, and planning. And it's kind of like they have to justify the means at the end of the day. And it's kind of like they have to make a cost loss analysis, like what's the benefit here exactly? And so we have to wonder. So get in touch and let me know if anyone knows anything about this idea. Back in the day when I first started on YouTube, I used to talk with someone called Meegs B. She had a YouTube channel, and I think she's been in and out of YouTube for years. Makes videos, doesn't make videos, but she was heavily in on the targeted individual scene. So I heard a lot about it then, but it's just not a part of my world, and it's not something my studies have taken me down. But it's definitely something I'm more interested in, kind of trying to get to grips with understanding. And again, this topic also leads into something even more interesting, and I think kind of compounds on top of it, is the narcissistic pandemic. I'll call it pandemic, the narcissistic epidemic. Like, that's kind of taking over a modern society where I would say full demonic influence is just taking over people's personalities, and they're becoming one with their own demons and accepting them wholeheartedly and as a part of themselves and their personality, whether they know it or not, and we're seeing the worst of people existing today and coming out of people. And the rise of the narcissist in society is a real problem. And there's hundreds of YouTube channels out there talking about this on a daily basis, offering therapy for victims of narcissistic abuse, and also offering advice on how to deal with narcissists and narcissism in your family from loved ones, how to deal with going no contact from narcissists and all this type of stuff. It's a real thriving, possibly multi-million-pound industry now, actually, to discuss narcissism and therapy for narcissistic abuse and the rest of it. It's like become a thing, probably run by narcissists, But it feels like it all goes kind of hand in hand with the demonic influence in our modern age, as we've seen through modern art, through fashion industries, through the psychiatric industries, in subtle ways, in occult ways we don't realize, through the clothes we've been in and the styles and the influences behind the way we dress can affect these things, to how we choose to interpret ourselves within society and our position within it as well. Victim mentality can play into the narcissistic mentality, and playing the victim today is popular and a good thing. And I think it's actually cool to have problems and to be one with your demons, and it's very, very strange. So people here are talking about narcissism comes right from MK Ultra, and they have satanic ritual abuse brainwashed. Yes, yeah, I've heard that as well. That's another major topic and problem. Maybe if I'm going to broach these topics on a platform like YouTube, however, I should probably not do it on YouTube and maybe just do podcast only. Because these are tough topics to get away with discussing on this platform. And I want to talk about them because they're dark and they're deep and they affect a lot of people in many ways. And I think it's very pertinent to our time, to where we're living, the time we're living in. The little season, I believe, of deception, but also just in the modern age as we are living through it, there is this problem of rising narcissism, psychopathy, and lack of empathy for fellow man. Love is in short supply, and we're seeing the detrimental effects of living in such an anti-Christ, godless world, as more so as it goes on, And I would hope maybe we can pull it back. I'm always forever the optimist, but until then, we need to acknowledge the problem and discuss what the problem actually is. When I was waking up, says Val, I didn't realize my GF was in an actual cult. I watched her change personalities in the snap of a finger. That's terrifying. It's hard to talk and read and deliver alive if you're reading the chat the whole time. Well, I'm not reading the chat the whole time. I'm diving in and out, as you know. You should do a show with Charles Carroll, says says Consumer. I don't know who Charles Carroll is, but I will look into him. My last boss was a twin, and him and his brother both gave me reptile vibes. Kanga says, there have been many times the government has used a whole apartment complex in the projects to test new technology or poison declassified papers. That makes me think that. So these people could just be test subjects who are targeted individuals, basically. Hi, Paul. What will you tell your kids about the Earth being flat when your baby gets old enough to ask? Well, you know, I'm going to let them figure it all out for themselves. I'm not going to force much on my children. They're going to learn the heliocentric model, and that's the normal model that most of the Earth goes by. But I'm also going to tell them there are alternatives. But I myself, I'm not like a flat earther. I don't wholeheartedly subscribe to everything the flat Earth model has and goes for. I'm a biblical cosmologist, and I'm more of an enclosed systemer, I suppose, or something like that. I think it's an enclosed system, but I don't know the shape exactly. There are actually a lot of models out there, more than just a flat one as well. Which I implore you to look into and think about. But I'm basically going to encourage my children to think for themselves and say most people are going by this theory. There are other theories. Choose for yourself. That's kind of how I'm going to approach most things with my children. I'm not going to force anything on them, ever. Because I feel like that might just end up pushing them away in the long run. No, I want them to have enough information to make their own choices. I love this topic to explore because I'm not aware of any other channels talking about it, just touching it and move on. Yeah, it's there are definitely specialist channels out there who only talk about these things. SRA, Gangstalking, Narcissism, whatever it is, you know, spiritual warfare specifically. My channel, I touch on everything. You know, I'm at all the things, and I'm not going to focus on just one thing on my channel ever. I do have my moments where I focus for a long time on one particular thing, but I'm not about that thing exactly. You know what I mean? It's not like that's not my personality. That's not who I am. That's not my life. First and foremost, I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. But after that, you know, I'm here to explore all topics and ideas and theories within the conspiracy realm and understand them, and get to grips with them and understand how they fit into the bigger picture. So yeah, I'll be touching on these topics a lot on my channel while also touching on many other things. I'm definitely not like a specialist on narcissistic abuse type channel or something like that, but I have talked about it a few times. But I do follow a lot of those channels myself. Yeah, they're fascinating. I can't wait for Paul to come to my hometown, Cincinnati. I won't be coming to Cincinnati. That thing never took off in the end. We did the survey. We got the results of the survey, but we all decided in the end it's just not what's right for us as individuals. It's not the right time. We're not all in the right place to be able to do something like that right now. We're not all 100% sure it's what's best for the community as a whole. And like I said, it was just an idea. We put the feelers out, but we all decided against it in the end. That's all it is. There was never a venue booked or tickets sold, or there was nothing actually existing in real life. Nothing was cancelled exactly. It was an idea that just didn't come to fruition, unfortunately. I'm sorry for the role I played in hyping it up as much, but in the end, we decided it just isn't best. It was not best for the community or ourselves. Is the jester archetype always a negative? Seeking clarity, says Anon. Well, Jung would say the jester is just there to make you see your own shadow in a way, or to integrate your own shadow, or to play a role in showing you the absurdity of ego and belief. And it's all about shadow integration when the jesters are involved from a Jungian archetype perspective. But I don't think the jester is an archetype. I think that's a language model created through psychology, specifically through Jung, to explain away the supernatural. I think the jester entities are the literal disembodied spirits of giants that used to roam the earth and eat us in an antediluvian age and post-flood too. They are not reflections of the collective consciousness of the human psyche. They're not symbolic representations of shadow integrations of humanity which we need to integrate us. They are quite literally separate entities from us who just don't have a body anymore in the spirit realm. Do you understand? I don't agree with or respect the work of Carl Jung on this. I think he's wrong and a pretentious word salad weirdo at the end of the day, justifying his own nonsense, thinking, professing himself to be wise in a sense. And look, at the end of the day, I think he professed that he believed in God. He had no choice. He knows God exists, you know. But I think the whole archetype stuff and the idea that humanity has a collective consciousness, I think is a lie. I think demons have collective consciousness. I think humanity has a consciousness that's individualistic and separate from one another. Personally, I find the discourse challenges people to empower themselves through honest, open communication of differing opinions and narratives so they make their own choices. I'm not sure what we're talking about there. Well, that's too bad. I need more context. Oh, the Cincinnati thing. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Evil to be good and good to be evil. Clowns are people who will walk out of circus and be reborn. I don't know if my work will do anything like that. We'll see. I will reflect on this, especially in reading any of Carl Jung's work. Thanks, says Anon. Yeah, I know. Look, I know he's a well-respected researcher in his field, and a lot of people base their work on him after the fact and so forth. But it's kind of, it doesn't work, or it's not compatible with Christianity. It isn't, and I think he did a whole lot of speaking and speculating about things he cannot understand or fathom from his perspective. And I think he's basically created a religion, of a Jungian religion now of his work, to try and explain phenomena he just couldn't understand from his perspective, basically. And yeah. Jonathan Donovan is out of here. There you go. Do you believe in past life, unfinished business carrying on into this life? I don't think so. No, I don't believe in that. Not that I'm aware of. I feel like it's God. Our God is a God of resurrection. I think he can resurrect people from the dead and reestablish them as they once were. But I think he can also bring people back from the spirit realm into a new body if he wanted to. I think our God can do anything, but it's only by his word and by his command can something like that happen. I don't think we all have a kind of like past lives and keep recycling back into the realm until we complete our unfinished soul tie contracts or something like that. Are you getting into New Age territory there, Gnostic territory, which I just don't follow myself personally. How do you know who Nathaniel Gillis is? He is the most knowledgeable demonologist out there in a new field called necronetics. I mean, look, Anthony, I don't know everybody who's ever existed in the world ever. I don't know. How can I contact you? You can email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com. Yes, that's where you'll find me in everything I do. I'm just going to take another quick water break here. I'll just play an advert for you while I'm at it for the Nephilim Look Like Clowns, guys. I'll be right back in a couple of minutes. Just bear with me. When ordinary people think of autumn, they imagine shorter days, cozy fires, curling up with a great piece of literature, and basking in the warming scent of cinnamon with shades of burnt orange.
which your other half has decided to spend the life savings on to decorate the home for only 2 months. Just as God intended. Yet we must remember that this transition into the frosty abyss of winter creates the perfect conditions for the spread of the pathogen known as Halloween. This disease causes people to dress like demons and go door to door asking for free stuff. This public service announcement aims to give you the correct tool to help you deal with these contagious commie behaviours when they manifest in your local community. First, you'll want to arm yourself with multiple shots of the best-selling paperback on Amazon called The Nephilim Looked Like Clowns. With this PPE, you're fully equipped and well protected to handle what's to come next. Second, have a pumpkin spice latte and white girl autumn your time away in knitted cream shackets and pilgrim hats, because soon enough, Samhain begins. This is when the veil between the spirit realm and the physical world is at its thinnest, and possession, the main symptom of Halloween, is more commonly presented, causing this type of unironic cringe to start happening. Just look at him. This poor soul thinks he looks cool. And if you're not careful, this could be you. Together we can stop the spread of Halloween and flatten the curve. When you see fully grown adults playing dress-up and mirroring unspeakable horrors from beyond the void, remember your training and cure their vapid sense of self-identity by handing them one of our favourably reviewed treatments. Your country must develop herd immunity to seasonal cringe. So, spread the cure far and wide. Just like the cure, this disease does not discriminate by age. Emulating the infected, you will see children running around in bedsheets, knocking on doors, begging for sugary treats, and threatening to damage your well-earned property. Make sure to fill their novelty buckets with the one thing all children secretly want: a well-rounded and relatable education in biblical history. That'll stop the spread. The Nephilim Look Like Clowns and the inevitable booster volumes are currently the only known cure to thinly veiled demon channeling holidays. This is your best defense against this pandemic of spooky proportions. All you have to do is trust the science. Which you know we did, because I'm showing you people wearing lab coats and looking serious. Get your copy on Amazon today and be prepared for tomorrow. Side effects of reading The Nephilim Look Like Clowns include, but are not limited to, a feeling of existential crisis, a well-rounded knowledge of a Christian contrarian view on human history, a foundational understanding of spiritual warfare, and a healthy aversion to clowns.
And I am back. If you want to get a copy of The Nephilim Look Like Clowns, never mind, my screen doesn't work. You can, oh, God, never mind. I was going to show you where you can get it on Amazon. Yeah, go get yourself a copy on Amazon, guys. Just type in The Nephilim Look Like Clowns on Amazon. It's right there. 4.8 out of 5 stars, 144 reviews. People seem to like it. You get it for $30, I believe, for paperback. But if you want to get your own copy, straight from me, signed, I have 3 left. I have 3 paperbacks left out of the recent batch I just bought of 12. I think I got 7 hardcovers, 5 paperbacks. Yeah, I've got 3 left of this one for this month. So if you want to get yourself a signed copy, just email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com and we can get that arranged. I am running an offer for the rest of April, the last 3 days. This is £40. So I think that's about $67, I think. And that includes shipping anywhere in the world, from the UK to America, postage, the print costs, all that kind of stuff is all included in that one price of £40. And I can get that out to you as soon as possible. So just email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com. It's first come, first serve basis. And I mean that by first to actually send the money gets it, not like, you know, after we've agreed. I'm not going to withhold the book for you for like 3 days because you said you wanted it. For example, if someone else comes along and actually pays, they get it, you know, because I know it's complicated. I've been doing this for like over a year now. That's just the fairest, easiest, quickest way I can do this now, because some people just, you know, want to play around a little bit. So there you go. That's how that's going to work. If you want a signed copy, but you can always get it on Amazon as well. And there is an audiobook on the way. I'm working on it. I am actually 8 finishing off chapter 9 of the audiobook of 20 chapters, almost halfway through the book. And then I lost my voice, so I've had to take a break for like a week, and I'm gutted. I could have got another like 3 or 4 chapters done in that time. So I'll get that hopefully finished within the next month. I'm going to buckle down and try and get it done this month in May. And hopefully at the end of May, I might have an audiobook of The Nephilim Like Clowns released. And yeah, there you go. That's coming, guys. That's coming. So something we're working on there. And obviously the second book, it will be published whenever that's finished. I'm always chipping away and adding little bits here and there, but it's not easy to write a book. It took me a year to write the first one, and the second one, I think it might take me even longer because it's just more information than ever before. My wife's clocking out. It's time for me to watch my own chat. Yeah, I know. I've deleted and banned many people this chat, unfortunately. To make it clear to Sleepy Joe, I am not censoring the hard truth of the flat earth or anything like that. It quite literally is, as was said, I'm exasperated by it. I've been doing this for over a decade. I've been there. I've got my flat earth degree. I've heard every in and out possible point about that topic that you can possibly know about it. I've gone through every single model you can imagine. I've interviewed people about it. I've visited people. I've done it all, and I've integrated it, understood it, accepted it, moved on. But when you start obsessively spamming about it in the chat, it just derails the chat away from the topic we're talking about today, which has nothing to do with that. So that's why the comments get banned. Okay? When you get uppity about it and in your face about it and start accusing people from left and right about things like this, okay? Does the GoFundMe send you the money straight away? Says Phil. No, it doesn't. It has to sit there for a month, and then it gets processed and sent to me at the end of the month. PayPal is the way I do this, guys, just because I'm in Britain. Conversion rates is the best way to do the conversions and the rest of it. I know some people don't like PayPal, but I don't have many options here in the UK, unfortunately, for that type of thing. So that's just what I have to use. And it really keeps my for tax purposes, my books a lot neater and easier when it's all coming through just one channel rather than multiple things, you know. So I wouldn't recommend using the GoFundMe. And I'm afraid I can't think of many other alternative methods other than going through PayPal to make my life easier for that reason. We are resurrected for this time in real history. We all get to see this crazy season unfold and come to an end, says Val. Maybe we'll see it in our lifetime. Maybe we won't. I don't know. I don't know how long a piece of string is. I couldn't say how long a little season was. When did you say that? I was saying you were censoring everyone. Sleepy, I'm pretty sure you said something like that at the top. Why are flat Earth comments being deleted? The tone said it all. Come on, I was reading between the lines. You were clearly accusing us of purposely censoring the truth. But the truth is, it's kind of, you don't always have to talk about that. All right, just like we don't always talk about how the sky is blue. It's just a known in this community. You know, there's things we just know, and we don't always have to keep reiterating. Necessary purging. Yeah, that's right. I have a respectful question. If God knew that Satan was going to be what he is today, and Satan did this, his purpose, and did a great job, why would he be punished for it in the lake of fire? Well, no. At the end of the day, angels left their first estates and made a choice to go against God in opposition to his design and his creation. The angelic rebellion was more than just Satan doing some silly things. A third of the angels were convinced to rebel along with him. And angels are far more than just men with wings. Angels are integral parts of creation itself. They are integral cogs in the machine of God's creation. Okay? They're not like us. They don't have the free will, sensibility, and the image of God, mind and soul and body that we have. Okay? They don't perceive or act in the world like we do. We can't hold them to the same standards of judgment that we do. Now, from God's perspective, when angel, for example, stars are angels. Okay, and I believe angels are equated to all sorts of things in creation. I think we call them, pagans call them spirit gods or lake spirits or sea spirits or whatever, like trying to equate them as sea dragons, dragons who control the oceans and stuff like this. Like, for example, we have Poseidon, the god of the ocean in like the Greek mythology, you know, and it's kind of like they're attached to like geographical locations and they're assigned to make that function the way it should function. The tides to tide and the flows to flow how they should flow in that area, or the trees to grow, the mountains or the rivers to flow how they should do in that area, or the stars to follow the path how they should do in that specific part of the creation. Angels are a part of the creation itself. I think there are angels holding up the firmaments with their wings from the vision of Ezekiel. You know, they are a part of creation. So when a third of the angels rebelled, the creation broke. It's like a clock, and suddenly a third of the cogs are just removed. It stops working correctly as it should do. And that's obviously an issue that needs to be corrected, which is why we need a new heaven and earth at the end of all of this. And it's why, what do you do when parts are broken? You get rid of them, and you get new parts. And, you know, I think from God's perspective, it's wholly justified what's going on here. It's unfortunate that happened, but they rebelled, and there's consequences for that. It's the way it is, you know. And thank God we have Jesus to redeem us. Thank God, well, because those angels, their punishment is far worse than ours. That's for sure. That's kind of just how I understand it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's the case, you know, personally. You're putting words in my mouth. I just saw a guy get deleted and asked a simple question. Okay, I mean, whatever. Fine. There you go. Let's move on. Done. I thought YouTube was deleting. No, YouTube wasn't deleting. Thank you for reading my comments. I have to go. I was trying to ask if you know who Nathaniel Gillis is, and that's if you compare notes and dots will be connected. I'll look into him. Thanks for letting me know. He was spam, apparently, after being told why it got deleted, said it all. Yeah, he was spam, apparently. Yeah, it's the attitude behind your simple question, Sleepy Joe. You know what you did. You know, don't try and, like, mask it now. We're not... Don't gaslight us. Like, we're the crazy ones. We're not stupid. Paul, have you heard stories about the sirens that are supposedly off the coast of Africa? I've read a few on Reddit years ago. It's interesting, says Pearl. I have not heard those stories, though. That does sound really interesting. Yeah, can you send me any links in the Telegram? I'll definitely read those. Absolutely. I mean, I've talked about sirens in the book, and they're a big part of this. Absolutely. The women who went astray and mated with the angels became sirens. I don't want to make waves, but I'm not afraid to. I believe we've been saying short season for 10 years, says Matt Brew. I've heard the short season theory before. Break the hostility. I think he believes it started in the millennium. So that's quite interesting. 2001, I think he believes it when it all kicked off. Who's gaslighting who? Okay, you know what? And just time out. I'm going to put you in a timeout for the last 10 minutes, Sleepy Joe, before this show finishes. I'm not getting into it. I went to an old area last year from only 200 years ago and cried for a long time for no reason. So I know it's real. Genetic memory. I suppose genetic memory going down through your bloodline is different than your soul coming back. You know what I mean? I don't know about that. I don't know if we can equate the two exactly. But I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. I totally forgot to download Telegram on my new phone, says Kanga. Yeah, get on it. Everyone get on the Telegram group. Let's do this. Let's all get together and talk. I was being tolerant for once, says my wife. Yeah, well, look, you know, as like I said, as the platform gets bigger, it attracts more trolls. And not saying Sleepy Joe is a troll necessarily, but who's being antagonistic unnecessarily. So it's kind of, when it starts to get like this, I'm gonna have to get more moderators. I mean, maybe I should start interviewing for more moderators, because it brings with it a lot more nonsense. It really does. And I'm only one man, and I don't want the chat to derail into nonsense arguments because someone just came in there and threw a grenade for no reason, about something completely off topic. So I've just decided to adopt a zero nonsense policy, and it's kind of like one strike and you're out. And that's it. That's just the way I'm going to do it, and deal with it. It's my YouTube channel. I'll ban if I want to. That's basically my argument. Sorry, not sorry. I see a video on YouTube of a fallen Russian angel. Have been seen this poll they say was real, and Russian authorities took it. Mexico has mermaids. They chill with Mexican movie stars. It's on YouTube. I've not seen that. No, Shauna, send me in an email any links to those videos, and I'll check them out. Have you read Albert Hoffman's book LSD, My Problem Child? If so, I'm curious what you think about the religious elements through it. He was baptized Protestant, says Anon. I remember researching that years ago, a long time ago now, maybe at 12, 13 years ago. I forgot most of it. I forgot a lot about my past, that the part of my life, to be honest. I'm going to have to look back into that again and do a refresher before I give you any comment, Anon. Hey, Paul. Who and what do you believe the Hat Man is apart from the author of the book? There is a lot of symbolism with the hat. Apart from the author of the book, I don't know what you mean by that bit. But the Hat Man, summarized quickly, he seems to be, when it comes to the shadow realm, with the shadow entity, or the spirit realm, shall I say, he's not a disembodied spirit of a Nephilim. He's more like a principality or a ruler. He's more like probably a fallen angel, or one of the rebellious angels, who has dominion over an aspect of the spirit realm. But he's not on our side. Like I said, the angels have a role to play. They have dominion over places on Earth, and a third of them have rebelled. And it might be that they still have access to their area and are still in control of it, but they're not on God's side anymore, And they're going to do everything they can with their authority and dominion of that specific region to utterly destroy us and do what they can with us. It seems like the Hat Man's more like the accountant of the spirit realm. He's making sure everything's in order. It's kind of like the spirit realm's lawyer in a way. He's kind of there to, or overseer, or quality assurance manager, or something like that. He's like the boss that everyone's scared of. I feel like it's his job to make sure the accounts are in order for the rest of the demons, and that they're doing what they should be doing while in the spirit realm. And it's kind of like when all else fails, I feel like they send him in to clean house, to sort it out. That's kind of what I'm getting the feeling of the Hat Man actually is. He's an official of the spirit realm. And so there's my working theory. I couldn't say for certain if that was absolutely true. Crikey says, finish your Nephilim Clown book. When will the next one be out? Crikey, I can't promise a date or time. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It could be 6 months. It could be 12. Books are hard to write. They take a lot of time. And I had a second kid not that long ago. Life has got in the way, and I've not made as much progress as I would have liked to have made. But as time gets easier, as routines are now in place, and sleep is back, things are getting easier and more time is on my lap to do the writing. Once I get the audiobook published for Volume 1, I will be buckling down and concentrating on writing Volume 2 and finishing that and getting that published. Hopefully, I'd like to get it done this year before the year's out, but stuff always comes. It's not that easy to write and publish a book. It's just, I have made promises and fallen short before with this. I'm just not making any promises. I don't know. I honestly don't know when it's going to be ready. I'm doing my best, though. I'll tell you that much. I hope Jesus comes now. This place kind of sucks. I would drop it all if Jesus came, no problem. Yeah, things are rough. I understand. I'm with you there. Nobody's doubting the earth. Yeah, no one's hiding anything. Exactly. Appreciate all the work you do, Paul. God bless you, says Pearl. Thanks. I appreciate you too, Pearl, for knocking around for so long and being a part of the community. I really do. I appreciate all of you for being here, honestly. Gaslighting is a funny word. Yeah. What's this? See, Sleepy Joe, now I'm starting to wonder in your snarky comment. Yeah, whatever. I'm done with that. I'm not getting into this. You're dragging us down to your level, and you're trying to get us into an argument for no reason. This is what they do. And look, your logo is literally like a troll frog, Pepe the Frog. Like, now I'm starting to wonder. Anyway, on that note, let's not let them bring us down to the bad note. I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listening to the early rant. I'm sorry the screen froze. These things happen. We've all seen it, and that's unavoidable. Comes with the territory. But yeah, thanks for the show. Thanks for the donations. Thanks for getting involved. Thanks for your interesting questions at the end there. I hope I've managed to answer enough of what I can give you on that front. I hope you're enjoying the shift in topic as well, and we're getting more eclectic. We're going to start branching out and going back to source and talking about more things. I hope you're enjoying the live Q&A sessions. I've turned them into like more of a JT's mixtape style show where we go through many different things, flavors of the week, topics of the week, and my Truth or Therapy sessions here are just for me to vent about whatever obscure thing I've been thinking about. Or often if I get a guest, they'll come onto the Truth or Therapy sessions and share their journey as well. I hope you've been enjoying the Tips for Truthers series every Friday too. And I do have 2 podcasts I was on. I'm going to release on my channel in the coming weeks. There's going to be Nino's Corner with David Rodriguez talking about the Nephilim Clown connection, and I was on Sam Tripoli's Tinfoil Hat discussing the Little Season 2. I'll be releasing them on the channel soon as well. But like I said, lots to look forward to in the coming month. Hopefully an audiobook, hopefully a new advert to advertise the audiobook as well should be around, which I'm quite happy about. If you want a signed copy of the Nephilim Like Clowns, email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com and we can get that arranged. But other than that, guys, I'll be back soon. Thanks for listening, and as always, God bless.
This Saturnalia. Imagine a world where the truth was accessible and relatable. Where red baubles on a Nimrod phallus are forever changed. A solstice celebration where conspiracy and intrigue carry you away. Experience The Nephilim Looked Like Clowns, the perfect book for your weird way of life. Direct from Europe, this highly rated research has warmed the hearts of millions in time for the frosty season. Be inspired by timeless biblical questions such as, what the hell is Satan's problem? Ham did what to Noah? Was the pre-flood world really that bad? And if classic questions aren't your thing, and you prefer your Yuletide to be extra occult, take a trip to the unknown with the spine-chilling Hatman to the psychedelic realm of demonic Jesters. You'll get 20 obscure and tantalizing chapters. No other book gives you the feeling of pure vindication towards your childhood fear of clowns. Each paragraph brings the wonder of Christ's sacrifice into your home. For this commercialized nonsense holiday, there's no greater gift for your family than a guide to effective spiritual warfare. Order now and get that edgelord of a teenage child of yours to Christ this winter. Sometimes in this little season, it takes clowns to get them there. To get your copy, do not call the number on screen, which is being used as a placeholder reminder of a bygone time. And don't send a check to any PO box because this is not the 90s anymore. Simply type in "The Nephilim Look Like Clowns" on Amazon to get your copy just in time to lock yourself away from the world and wait out the pagan festivities.